Hello everybody, JGC Anime here, and today we are going to be reviewing Endo and Kobayashi Live, the latest on Tsundere Villainess Lieselotte, or Tsundere Akayaku Reijo Lieselotte to Jikyo no Endo-kun to Kaisetsu no Kobayashi-san. I probably said that wrong, but we're just going to roll with it. So, what is the premise of this anime? Basically, these two friends named Endo and Kobayashi started up this otome game and are super upset that the villainess of the game, Lieselotte, who is a tsundere for the prince, can't express her true feelings, and they really wish they could talk to the prince and help him know what she's really thinking. Some way they could help her get a happy ending instead of the doomed ending she has in pretty much every single route. And then that actually comes true. They actually could talk to the prince for some reason. It is explained later in the season, but basically early on they're allowed to talk to the prince. He doesn't understand why, they don't understand why, but they're able to communicate with him, and now they're aiming to help the prince know what Lieselotte is thinking, and that's the start of the anime as they try to aim towards a happy ending for everybody, including Lieselotte herself. So, yeah. Going into some spoiler-free thoughts, I actually really enjoyed this anime. It's not like some god-tier, like high-quality, big budgets like anime, because I'll be honest, this actually looks really cheap for most of the project. Like, I watch a lot of anime, and most of the time I don't actually really notice like cheap animation, but with this show there are many times where I notice how they try to save budget and stuff like that. It is very noticeable, including the opening where there are some nice visuals in there, but the characters are very stiff and don't move too much throughout most of the opening, other than like this one dance sequence. So honestly, just the whole character thing looks very stiff, and I can tell there are moments in this anime where they're cutting corners with the animation. But still, I found myself very much enjoying the show. It's not like Fruits of Evolution, a show I despise with a passion. It's not like that show where the animation wasn't just terrible, but the story was also terrible. With this show, the story actually really is fun, which makes it very easy to sit through and enjoy, and I really like the characters in this. I can't think of almost any characters in this show that I didn't really like. I enjoyed most of the characters in the show. There are like one or two I kind of wish we could get a bit more info on, but we never really did, but I can talk about that a bit in the spoiler section. But overall, I definitely enjoyed this series, and I honestly think it's a fun little time. It's not perfect in any way, but I had a very good time, and I definitely enjoyed myself, and yeah. That's all I can really say without spoiling anything, so we're just going to hop into the spoiler section. Here is a timestamp to when the spoilers will end. I'm going to enter the spoiler section, so yeah. If you have seen the show, I'd recommend sticking around to hear the spoilers, since, you know, you might get to hear something you want to talk about in the comments, and if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend skipping to the end so you don't get spoilers. But yeah, I'm going to catch up for 5, and we're going to enter the spoiler section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so talking about things straight from the get-go, I honestly don't know how to feel about some of the cast not really getting too much attention. Like, I mentioned this before, that it was in an otome game, it was like a visual novel, and in there's meant to be like 5 main love interests in the story, and I understand that in the 12-episode anime, they obviously couldn't focus on all of them, but at the same time, I wish we could have gotten to learn more about some of them, since some of the characters really don't do much. Like, out of the like 5 main love interests of the game, the only ones who really get like any sort of main character attention are the characters like Sagewald or Sage, and also another character called Balder, who is basically the love interest of the real Otome game's main character, Fine. I probably said that wrong, but I don't know. Basically, those are the only 2 in the entire story that really get any massive character like attention. The rest of the characters get decent little moments here and there, but overall, sometimes I don't know how much they really would come into play. There's also like this other character that I was kind of curious about what part they would play in the story, but they turned out not really doing anything. This guy called Leon, who basically, he is someone who I thought was going to have a decent part in this, considering they actually talked about his personality a lot at the start of the anime, but then his personality doesn't even really come to a play. I don't remember if I remember this correctly, but I'm pretty sure they said he was kind of sadistic. I didn't see it because they didn't really dive into it. And I'm pretty sure this is meant to be like a one-off anime, I think, since the anime kind of ended on a nice little note that definitely felt like an ending. So we probably won't get to see any more of him. Oh yeah, speaking of said ending, I'm a bit disappointed with how the main characters are handled in this, Endo and Kobayashi, where most of the season they're actually very enjoyable. I like them a lot. But then you have the last storyline where it's revealed that some god is trying to, like, he's trying to take Kobayashi's sister's body and put Fine's, like, soul into it because she's, like, the daughter of Eve or something, and the guy loves Eve and he wants to make her fall in love with him, but he can't, so I don't know, it's just, the storyline was actually quite interesting, but then you have the big issue, and that is Endo and Kobayashi's, like, romantic relationship. It's told throughout the entire series that Endo really likes Kobayashi. He's very much in love with her, and he wants to confess to her. So in the final episode, he does that, and that's as far as the story goes for those two in terms of relationship. Like, that is, we don't get to elaborate on their, like, romance or anything like that. They confess, she says yes, done. We're moving on. Which I understand why. This focus is meant to be more on Lieselotte and her love interest, who I think, again, Siege. Basically, those two are the main focus. And personally, I think they're just adorable, because whenever I'm watching this anime and whenever I'm watching the two of them interact, I always have this smile on my face. It's just so much fun to see, especially with Kobayashi and Endo kind of going over things with them, and at least with Sage, who they're trying to talk about what Lieselotte's feeling. They're trying to make sure he knows what exactly she's thinking. It's very funny seeing how the two of them interact. It's just so fun. And that definitely made up a lot of what I really enjoyed about this anime. Just the two of them interacting, as well as some of the other cast members. That things just felt really nice. However, there are some moments I find a bit questionable, such as the introduction of Elizabeth, who is the mother of Fine, who basically just kind of pops in there as in a part of the story. They say she's always been a part of the story, but she really felt kind of like she just popped in. She does play a part down the road in the story, but she just feels like she just burst out of nowhere. And it kind of reminds me of this later issue I had with another episode where it's built up that Lieselotte is being slowly corrupted by, like, this witch that's trying to, like, take control of her and possess her. But as she's doing that, one episode, they just decide, she just decides, no, the prince really does care about me out of pity maybe or something, but I just want to be by the prince's side. And I just sit there thinking, wait, so she's able to do this on her own now? She's made up her mind. She's going to try to fight this witch on her own or something. And then right after that, she talks about how she doesn't want the prince to pity her anymore. And then I think, okay, so she's trying to go down the route of not showing her feelings whatsoever, and the prince has to find a way to show his feelings. But then, no, he immediately confesses after that, and it's just like, no, I really do love you. And I'm just like, why is this all in the same episode? Why? Like, it didn't make much sense to me. I didn't understand what the heck was going on. Out of every single episode in this series, this is the one that probably made the least amount of sense to me, because what I imagined was going to happen was she was slowly going to let the witch's position eat away at her before she finally almost gets sucked in, and then he finally confesses to her. I thought that's the route they were going for, but then they did this instead, and then they kind of did what I mentioned before after that as well, when the witch tried to forcibly possess her, and it's just like, I don't know. It's not terrible, but it definitely felt a bit odd. Sometimes the pacing is very off, and I don't really blame the anime for that, because it's trying to cram the whole story into one season of anime, just 12 episodes, but I don't know, just the main plot point moments definitely always feel a bit underwhelming, but everything in between I actually thoroughly enjoy. Getting to see the characters develop and stuff, it's just, I really enjoy it. And honestly, overall, the characters of the show are just really charming, at least the main focused characters that we see. There are some characters that don't really do too much that I don't really have too much of an opinion on. But overall, I did have a good time. Although I do question a few things in this anime. One has got to be Kobayashi's kind of like inner demon situation, where basically the main villain, I think his name is like Kyuan or something. Basically, he is the main villain, and he's trying to make her think, oh yeah, you're just like me. You've always been envious and jealous of people around you. And in the last episode, they're trying to make it seem like Kobayashi's always been jealous of her older sister, thinks about how much prettier she is, how she's probably won over every single guy and all that. And I'm just sitting there like, wait, I mean, this makes sense, but at the same time, really, this is the way we're going with this? Like, the finale, as entertaining as it was, like, honestly, it's probably one of my favorite finales to an anime. It's just so bizarre. Like, it's just so strange. Like, Lieselotte's praise, it gets, like transferred into Kobayashi's custom-made doll Lieselotte, and it's just like, it's so weird. It's hard to describe. All I know is it was a hilarious finale that, honestly, even though it's just straight up weird, I could not stop laughing at how ridiculous it got. And then there's just the whole Kobayashi thing where she's like, oh yeah, I've always been jealous of this and that. And then Lieselotte just pops in there being like, no, don't think of yourself like this. You're better than this. It's just like, it's interesting. It's more funny than actually super well written, but I still found myself really enjoying it. And again, I only wish that Endo and Kobayashi's relationship was a bit more expanded upon. But then there's this really weird moment, moving past all that for now, there's this really weird moment that out of everything, is the one thing I just think, okay, now you're just kind of making stuff up. And that, you know, I know it's this whole fiction, but basically, this moment where I think they were just trying to wrap things up. So basically, Lieselotte and Sage are about to have their wedding. They're about to go out there. And then suddenly, the goddess who they ended up becoming friends with shows up and is just like, here, let me just take Endo Kobayashi and bring him to our world because, yeah, I can isekai people now. And then she just brings them. I'm just like, wait, if you could do that the whole time, what? Like, there are so many moments where characters do things. I'm just sitting there like, if you could do that the whole time, weren't there other ways that you could kind of do things? I don't know. Just, there are moments in this where I kind of question characters' powers and abilities and stuff, but overall, I had a good time. I very much enjoyed myself with this anime, and while I may be complaining a lot about some parts, overall, it was just a fun little charming show. It's not perfect, which is why it doesn't have like the top tier high ratings I've given a lot of shows, but I did find myself thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm glad I checked it out because it was a fun time. But yeah, that's all I really have to say, so we're at the conclusion of this video, and what are my final thoughts? Honestly, I really like this anime. It's not like a perfect anime, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and really liked it, and I'm really hoping that we might get to see more of like those type of Otome game villainess things in the future, because My Next Life as a Villainess is a lot of fun. Trapped in a Dating Sim, which is another, you know, dating sim game, that's one was a lot of fun. I find myself really enjoying like these dating sim-esque isekai or interactable stories. Like, I find them really fascinating and interesting because we don't see them too often, but I really enjoy them, and this one was no exception. Even though it's not really an isekai, it's two people talking to a video game, but I still enjoyed it a lot, and I really liked it, and that's why I have to give Endo and Kobayashi Live, the latest on Tsundere Villainess Lieselotte, a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. There are problems here and there that I didn't love a lot, but overall, I definitely had a good time. And if someone just wants to like waste a few hours and have a nice little time feeling happy and enjoying the sweetness of a romance that they'll never have, this is a fun little show. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. So thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I also have new anime fans to the channel, and I will see you all around. Peace!